Welcome to Empower Her Radio, the podcast for healthcare moms who want to break free from limiting beliefs, build unshakable confidence, and step into the truest expression of themselves, both personally and professionally. I'm your host, Corey Wynn. I'm a wife, a mom, a doctor of physical therapy, and a peak performance strategist. Working with highly motivated women to transform their lives and inspire those around them is what truly lights my soul on fire. Each episode, whether it's a solo session filled with actionable strategies or an inspiring interview with a woman who has overcome significant obstacles, is designed to leave you feeling worthy and confident in the value you have to offer everyone around you. I hope you walk away empowered and ready to take that next step to lead your life on purpose. Now, let's dive into today's show. Hey guys, I wanted to pop in real quick with a special offer today. Everything that I do here at Empower Her Radio and in my private coaching practice, Elevate and Empower, is to empower and equip women, specifically moms, with everything that they could possibly need to live their dream life. So I want to give you my dream life blueprint today that can help you get started with that. Just head to corywin.com/dreamlifeblueprint and you can find that in the show notes. All right, now back to today's show. October is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. And I know that many of you have been listening to me for a while and you've heard my story of my career, how I've pivoted, my family, my love for helping high-performing women. But this is not a story that I have shared openly with a whole lot of people. But I came downstairs last fall, maybe earlier this year, and my daughter looked at me and she said, "Mommy, Daddy says I'm a rainbow baby. Am I a rainbow baby?" And I remember stopping at the bottom of the stairs, shocked. And I looked at my husband and he had these like deer caught in the headlights eyes, like, "Oh, I don't know what I did. Maybe I didn't do something right." And I just sat there and I had to compose myself because I had never told my daughter, she's 9 now, but she was 8 at the time. I'd never told her that I was pregnant before. I didn't know how to. I wasn't ready to. What would that make her think? Would she feel like she was less important? Would she feel less special? Would she be sad because she had a brother or sister out there that she didn't know about? And I also remember grieving it all over again. I know so many women now and men who have dealt with pregnancy and infant loss. Peter and I were pregnant before Eliza Jane was born, and I miscarried at about 7.5 weeks. I literally found out I was pregnant, had Amazon be able to deliver what to expect when you're expecting, and I miscarried the next day. And I remember feeling like a failure. My husband was married before. He has I have two beautiful bonus children. And I thought, what's wrong with me that I can't give him another kiddo? I had wanted children from the time I was a kid. I grew up an only child. I wanted siblings. That wasn't in the cards for me. So my whole life, I wanted at least 3 children. And what if I couldn't even have one? What if I could never get pregnant? And I know that so many women go through this spiral of what ifs when they have a miscarriage. What did I do wrong? Is it going to happen again? Am I ever going to have children? And I still remember that day so vividly. I started bleeding the night before, and I thought, should be fine. I mean, I'd never been pregnant before. I didn't know it was unusual. Wasn't a big, wasn't huge. And then the next day, my stomach started hurting. And I thought something's very wrong. And I had had horrible menstrual cramps throughout my teens and early 20s. And I thought, this is so much worse than that. And I called my doctor, and she pretty much said, if you're miscarrying, there's nothing we can do. We can get you in tomorrow. And I thought, we'll go out. We'll walk around town. If I could just ignore this, somehow it'll be better. And I remember passing what would have been this embryo and thinking, this is it. This is what's really happening. This was 10 years ago, guys. It still makes me grieve. And I remember going to the doctor after that, and the ultrasound tech being very black and white, kind of short, and saying, there's no evidence of pregnancy, and walking out of the room. And I thought, that's it? That's all you can tell me? There's nothing? And the doctor came in later, and she said, you had essentially a hormonal pregnancy, or I can't remember exactly what it's called, but essentially it was not I wasn't far enough along for it to have been a true pregnancy yet, despite all my hormones and everything saying that I was pregnant. And then there's a different grieving process, because I have friends who have lost babies that they saw their hearts beat, that they carried through entire pregnancies and lost during childbirth. I have friends who had twins and one of them passed and they only had one of them live. And I've had friends who carried babies all the way up through the anatomical ultrasound, and their baby didn't have a brain. And they had to decide, do I carry this baby to term who is going to die immediately? Or do I make another decision that's very politicized right now? And then I grieved, well, you weren't really that far along. You shouldn't be so sad. And I will never forget talking to another mom who had had multiple miscarriages and just being very open about my story and what I'd been through, and how I didn't feel like I should still be sad, and that I really didn't feel like I had anything that I should be sad about in the first place, because so many other moms and so many other parents have been through so much worse. And she looked at me and she said, but Corey, that doesn't invalidate the hurt that you went through, the hurt that your husband went through. And when I talked with him about sharing this episode, he said, all power to you. I've only been able to tell 3 people in my whole life. He said, it makes me too sad. And I think it would be interesting to hear some of this from the parent who either isn't carrying the child, or from, the spouse, the partner, whoever it is, how they grieve through this process too. Because I didn't think about how it affected him too. We were both so excited. He has 2 beautiful children. Like I said, I have 2 beautiful stepchildren. And we also wanted to have a family together. So there's this huge moment of this very primal, innate thing that can happen. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with us? Are we not compatible? Is this going to happen again? And I remember the process that you have to go through to make sure that your body's prepared and ready for another kiddo, and then blood tests that I went through to make sure that all of the tissue that had been created for this life that didn't make it was expelled from my body. And when we found out we were pregnant again, I was elated and terrified at the same time, because what if this happens again? And I had to be on extra medicine and um, extra hormones to help support this pregnancy. And, that's just my story. I don't know about a lot of other people's stories, but I know that I've had friends be on bed rest and all sorts of things. And as far as we've come with medicine in this country, these things still happen. And I wanted to share all of this with you today because all the way through Eliza Jane's pregnancy, I know there was a part of me that kept wondering, is this real? Is this actually happening? Or am I going to lose this one too? And you can have as many people tell you over and over and over again that it's not your fault, it's nothing that you did. But there's a primal instinct too that I should be able to carry a baby. I should. And if you've listened to me at all through any of my coaching of my clients or my other podcast episodes, I tell people to take should out of their vocabulary. And I also recognize that there's a feeling that goes along with this too. And I remember looking at my husband when I was about 7.5 months pregnant and finally having this realization of like, oh my goodness, this is actually happening. We're going to be parents. What are we going to do? And I was freaking out. And he looked at me and he was like, this has been like 7 months of preparing for this so far. Like, we're just now freaking out about this. But like I said, I think I was still worried at some point, even maybe subconsciously, that I wasn't going to carry a baby that was going to live. And I have friends who have had miscarriage after miscarriage after miscarriage and have gone through fertility treatments, and it's just not happened for them. Some have adopted, some don't have children. And I find myself so incredibly blessed that I have this beautiful little girl who's now 9 that I carried to term, who was healthy. My pregnancy was healthy. She, for all intents and purposes, is totally normal. I mean, typically developing. I don't know that kids are normal these days, but typically developing. And I still get choked up sometimes. There's also grief that comes with forgetting. You know, sometimes I forget that I was pregnant before. And then I think, what does that say about me? I had a miscarriage. You forget about that baby, you know? So I hope that this message and this episode this month and this week, this special month, allows you to grieve and allows you to feel whatever feelings you have about pregnancy and infant loss. If you've had miscarriages yourself, if you're still grieving them, if your partner is grieving, grief comes about in lots of different ways. People get through it differently. People move forward after loss very differently. And there's no right or wrong. And I'm so blessed to know so many other women who've walked the same path as me, who've said, come on, you're part of this group. It doesn't matter that you lost your baby so early. You got that line on your pregnancy test that said pregnant, and that was it. All bets were off after that. So if you or someone you know has suffered a miscarriage, love them, be there for them, love yourself, be there for yourself, and first and foremost, know that this is not your fault. You're not being punished for anything that you've done. And I don't know why miscarriages happen. I don't know what hormonally happens or during development happens that flips this switch that has a miscarriage come about. But it's sad, and it's okay to be sad, and it happens. And maybe one day we'll live in a world that fertility difficulties are no longer a thing and miscarriages aren't a thing. And this whole month of awareness and celebration of the children that we have and the grieving of the children that we lost won't even be a thing. I don't know. But wherever you are in this season, if this has touched you or the lives of anybody that you know, love them, reach out to them, take care of yourself, and do whatever you need to do to be the best version of yourself that you can be for yourself and those around you. Thank you for tuning in to today's show. If this episode resonated with you, I would truly appreciate a 5-star review. Your feedback is so important to me. Additionally, if today's topics have sparked a desire for more in your life and you're unsure about the next step, I have a special offer for you. I'm offering a free call to explore how my high-level coaching and strategizing can help you gain clarity on your goals, prioritize what is most important to you, and refocus on yourself in the process. Simply head over to corywynn.com/free call. That's www.coreyWynn.com/free call. Thanks for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.